Hey guys, what's up? So this video is 8 reasons to use Node.js, and I could have come up with 10 or 5, but I decided to go with 8 because it's really just 8 off the top of my head without me having to do a bunch of research. And I've created some Node.js frameworks, and I've worked with the frameworks with many of them out there like Express, and I've also hosted a few Node.js websites. So anyway, I'm just going to go over the pros because people have asked me, like, how do you choose between Node and Python? And this isn't really a comparison directly between Node and Python, but I'm just going to go ahead and list some of the reasons why I would use Node and why I think it's a good choice. All right, so number one, it's really fast. And when I say that, it means it's non-blocking. So what is non-blocking? File reading and writing is one of the things that servers need to do really well, and that's something that Node.js does just about as well as anybody out there. So when it comes to like being able to read from a file system or a database and then send that data back, you're not going to find a better technology out there that does that. So the Chrome V8 JavaScript engine was what Node.js was built from, and it's extremely fast. If you look at the core code that actually makes up the Node.js framework, you're looking at more C, very low level code compared to a language like JavaScript. All right, so it's used by many modern companies. So a lot of major companies are using it, but just to name a few, you have LinkedIn, Walmart. Its entire web stack is built on Node. Then PayPal, Uber, and Netflix. So those are all major companies that are scaling Node to astronomical proportions compared to your typical run-of-the-mill website creator. So one language for the front end and the back end. So this might be the number one reason why you would want to use Node, is that you're going to be forced to write JavaScript for your client side, and you're going to be probably using one of the modern JavaScript libraries like React or Angular or Ember or any of the millions that it seems like we have out there. So that means you're going to be writing JavaScript already. It's so much easier not to have to write Python on the back end or Java or C# and then having to switch over to JavaScript on the front end. You can write JavaScript because JavaScript is how you interact with JavaScript is the language that you use to actually write your Node.js website. So even though Node.js, when you look at it, it's a technology, it's the Chrome V8 engine, it's written in C, JavaScript is what you actually write. So being able to write JavaScript on both the front end and the back end, it goes a long way, especially when it goes hand in hand with using React, Angular, and Ember, and all the other frameworks out there. So it's cross-platform, and this is a huge deal because if you're going to run a Node.js application, you're going to have probably some people that might need to run it on a Node.js, on a Linux web server, or it could be a Windows web server, or even running it on a Mac. So the fact that Node.js can install on all those machines, whether you're running Linux or Windows or Mac, and you're going to be able to run the application. So you have Microsoft and C#, moving with their .NET Core over to a Linux-based system, so it works on Linux, because that was always a major disadvantage for Microsoft and C# was that it didn't run on Linux, and Node.js doesn't have that problem, so it's a major benefit. So it has a very active development community. In fact, one of the most active development communities out there. If you look at the amount of questions that have been asked on not just JavaScript, but also on Node.js, it definitely competes out there with Python, Ruby, C#, and Java. So anybody that says that Node.js isn't an enterprise language or enterprise technology at this point is probably full of it. It's not new and hip. So what do I mean by that? It's no longer a fad. There's so many fads that come and go in the technology world. Like we don't know where technology's headed any given month or year. We don't really know. We can't see that. But the argument for a long time was that Node.js was like, it wasn't going to be this all-encompassing thing that everybody jumps on that was going to replace Python and Ruby. It's done that to some extent, but it's not going to completely replace those technologies. However, I think it's safe to say that Node.js isn't some sort of up-and-coming thing anymore. It's came, it's been, it's here, and it's not going anywhere. So the fact that it's not new and hip is actually a good thing. So Node is not a bloated framework. So what does that mean? It means that it does not come with the bells and whistles of a full-stack framework. You can't compare Node to Python Django or Python Flask or Ruby on Rails. It's nothing like that. It's a web server technology that you can then use a bunch of different frameworks that exist for Node.js, like Express or Sails. But the fact is that if you don't need that stuff, and you just want a bare bones web API, like a lot of people tell you that the Go language, and Golang is very good at that, and I'm sure it is, but so is Node.js, and Node.js has been around a little bit longer and has a larger community. So, depending on how slim you need your server-side API to be, Node can be as slim as you need it to be. It's very, very, there's not much to it really. So, as you start tacking on additional features like templating and things like that, that's when things get a little bit more bloated and slowed down. But, Node is, it's a very bare bones thing that you get if you're going to be building just a web server from it. So the future is lean, and what do I mean by that is that JavaScript, we've seen a lot of confusion in the industry about which frameworks and things like that you should be using. But the fact of the matter is, one thing that is clear is that we don't want bloated full stack frameworks, because bloated full stack frameworks are slow, and they're not built with the modern day client side library like React or Angular in mind. And the thing is that you need your server to be lean and efficient. It needs to be serving JSON data so that these newer client-side libraries can then take it and build your UI from it. JavaScript now on the front end is handling routing and everything else. So really you need a lean, mean server-side setup, and Node.js is probably the best option out there if I compare it to some of these other languages that have been around the block for quite some time. If I compare, like, I would choose Node.js over Python Tornado, even though Python Tornado is very good. The documentation just isn't there. The community just isn't there. Ruby on Rails is way too bloated compared to a server-side language or server-side stack that you can get set up with Node.js. You're not going to be able to compare the speed between the two. Node.js is just going to be much faster. So the future of web development, I think, rests more with Node.js than it does with any of the other older technologies that I just mentioned. But those are my top 8 reasons why you would want to use Node.js for your next project. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Make sure you subscribe. Take care. Hey, guys, so I just wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to my sponsor, Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp. Make sure you guys check out their website. We've talked a lot about whether or not the college degree is worthwhile, and people have asked me that, and you probably shouldn't even be asking me that because I don't know that anybody has the answer to that. But I can tell you that with the technologies that are being taught in school, and typically, for $100,000 4-year universities, people are finding as they come out that they're not really, ready for the IT world, and that they're actually learning a lot more from within the workforce. And that's probably the case with a lot of things, but with IT, it's even more so because technology changes so fast. So with coding boot camps like Dev Mountains, they teach you technologies that you're going to use right away in the job force. And the idea is to get you into the industry as soon as possible. They're going to use stuff that is being used everywhere, even things like jQuery, where you might be hearing a ton about this or that. They're going to be teaching a lot of the this and the that is of right now, but also a lot of what is being used in the workforce. So their entire goal is to get you into the workforce as soon as you complete the program. So make sure you check out the description links that I provide in there for Dev Mountain. For all my videos, they have the links in the description. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Bye.